Yeah.
This is my mother's family, the Bevilacqua family. Grandpa, who I didn't know very well because he died when I was about 3 years old, and I think he died of black lung. At least that's the story.
Was he a miner?
Because he was a miner in the Pittsburgh area before they moved to Erie. Octavio Bevilacqua. Next to him, his wife Rosina, my grandmother, and I remember her. She was an invalid for most of her life. I think it was arthritis. They didn't call it that then. I don't know what they called it, but I think it was probably arthritis. And my mother to the right, and she has a big bow in her hair. She never cut her hair. She always wore it in a bun. So I can't tell whether she has earrings on or not. It looks like it. And then on the other side, next to my grandfather, is Auntie Bibi, who had the candy store. In front of Grandpa is Bevy, A.J. Bevilacqua. He was the politician of the family. He grew up to be the politician. He was a delegate to Kennedy's nomination. And in fact, I was there. And Stevenson's kids were sitting in front of us. And they would cheer for Stevenson. We would cheer for Kennedy. And it was a great night. And Kennedy won the nomination. And then the little tiny girl in front with the big hat is Aunt Julia. No.
That is Julia.
Yeah, that's Julia because that's Beatrice.
Ida hasn't been born
No,
yet.
Ida hasn't been born yet, right. And look at those stockings and those shoes. I love them.
Yeah, and what is Grandpa holding?
A cigar, yes. And I love that chain. I wondered, well, that's long gone.
So this was obviously before Ida was born. And can you tell again the order of birth?
Yes, my mother was the oldest, then Beatrice, then Bevy, then Julia, and Ida is to come.
Okay.
And I don't know how many in between were lost, but there were some, yeah.
Okay, now try.
Now, the same family, but with Ida as a baby, and two unknown males in the background. I know my grandfather is right standing behind my grandmother, Rosina, but the two other guys, I really don't know who they are. I love the smile on Bevy's face. And my mother.
Your mother's on the left.
Yes, on the left.
So she's on the left.
And Julia is in front of her. Grandma is holding Aunt Ida.
Baby Ida.
Baby Ida. There's Auntie Bibi to the right and Bevy in front of her. Look at his shoes. Oh my gosh, they lace all the way up. And now this was on Walnut Street.
Was that your first home?
No, that was my grandmother's home.
Oh.
Right a half a block from the most wonderful bakery in the world that had the best spaccata bread, which means cleft in the bread. Oh, it was so good. And these are cousins from Cleveland who were cousins on my grandmother's side. And their mother, Pepina, and my grandmother, Rosina, were cousins. And these are the children.
Are these the Cece's?
These Cece's.
Cece's,
okay. Yes, with Aunt Ida sitting down.
And that's the only one in this picture that you can probably name?
Yeah. Maybe Bevy might be one of these. Not that one. I know who that's Armand.
Maybe that's Bevy.
It's either that one, yeah.
He has that impish look.
Yeah.
So you have to describe which person. Really.
So Ida is on the right.
On the right, sitting down on the porch.
And
and that is a Cisa, and I think it's Bernice.
Okay, to her left. And then the young girl to the extreme left
is probably Violet Cisa.
Violet,
yeah.
Okay.
And in front, there's two Cisa boys. And
maybe a Bevy on the far right.
It could be, yeah.
Okay.
I remember that porch. Uncle Bevy, oh yes. He was the, the politician. He was a delegate to Kennedy's nomination, and he was a bigwig.
How was it for Uncle Bevy to be the only boy among this family of all girls?
I imagine it was difficult. I don't know. He never said anything. But he went on to own several bars and restaurants.
Right.
He was a great cook.
And who was his wife again?
Matilda.
Auntie Mutt.
Auntie Mutt.
Used to
Yes,
call her.
and she was a great cook.
I think everybody in the family was a great cook.
You're right. You're right. They were all good. And I passed it on down to my girls. That's Auntie Bibi. And what she was doing with those sore segments, I have no idea. Probably they were tearing up the street and they piled them up there.
And she thought it would be
Just
an interesting
funny.
photo op.
Right. So
And look at that dress that she has on.
I know. Look at that. Look at that with the tucks
Yeah.
around the waist.
I don't ever remember Auntie Bibi looking like this, of
No.
course, because this was before my time. When I remember Auntie Bibi, she was quite a bit more stout.
Yes. And that's Aunt Julia and Uncle Chet on their wedding day.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Isn't that pretty? Yes. And that's Sonny and Dickie's mother and father.
Yes.
And that's the entire wedding party. And I am sitting there looking awestruck.
Were you the,
I was the flower girl. Yes, I was the flower. And my mother made that dress.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yes, with all the ruffles.
Oh.
Yeah.
So can you name any of the people in this photo?
No, I don't know him.
The man on the extreme left,
left.
you don't know.
But that's Angie Grandy.
The woman next to him. is
And I don't
Angie.
know, I can't remember her married name.
Okay.
And I don't know her.
The woman seated, you don't know, on the left.
Then the first man after that is my Uncle Nello,
And that's Ida's husband.
the
correct?
Ida's husband. I don't think at the time.
Oh.
No, because she married later.
Okay.
They married. Uncle Chet, the groom, Aunt Julia, the bride, my father's brother, Marino,
Oh, in the standing in the
from
back.
Yeah. Then Aunt Ida with the big hat on. And this is Uncle, I know, he was this one's husband.
Okay, so what was her name again?
Angie, I can't remember the last
so-
name. Yeah, and then
okay.
next to
The extreme right side is
Uncle Bevy.
Oh,
and
Uncle
then
Bevy.
seated is Clara, and I don't remember her last name.
Okay.
She was my Aunt Julia's best friend.
Oh, okay.
And then there's me in the ruffled dress, and I don't remember who this
The
lady
lady
is.
seated, probably a friend of
Probably,
Julia's.
yes, but I don't remember. Oh, and this is my Auntie Bibi and Uncle Joe on their wedding day.
On their wedding day.
On
So
their
she
wedding
was
day.
a late
Yes,
bride.
Yes,
A late age bride.
late age bride.
So I don't
yes.
think there's a white dress
no,
there.
no.
So she had a very simple wedding.
Very simple.
I love how she's standing on the step there.
Yes, so she won't be so short.
How short was Auntie Bibi?
Very, much shorter than I was.
And
yeah.
so your mother was about how tall?
My mother was about 5 foot.
And so Auntie Bibi was in the 4 foot range.
Yeah, I think.
When Auntie Bibi married Uncle
Joe,
did they own the store? It wasn't really a candy store.
No,
it was
it
a
was a
general
grocery
goods store,
but
that we all thought was a candy store because that's all we cared about.
Yes, yeah, that was in the front case, was all this candy. No, because at that time, across the street from the Phillips Fruit Company was the Grand Central Station, the Grand Central Market.
Okay.
Not station, market. And Bibi had a stall there.
Oh, okay. And that's how it started, and then they branched off, and then they opened their store afterwards.
Yes.
Okay. And they never had children?
No.
No children?
No, she got married. They got married late.
So she was a favorite aunt, however.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
You know, they all were favorites. They were wonderful.
They were all wonderful.
Each in their own way. Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's Aunt Ida in her, I don't know, 1920s days. Yeah.
Aunt Ida was glamorous.
Glamorous
to me.
and smart.
How was she smart, Mom?
Actually, she and Julia were the first two of the family, the 5 siblings, to go to college.
Wow.
And in that day, we're talking about the 30s, that was something for an Italian immigrant family to have 2 girls go to college. And they became teachers. They went to, I've forgotten the name of the college. It was called Normal School at the time. Mm-hmm. And they boarded, which again was unusual,
yes.
very unusual. And Julia went on to teach. Ida never taught. She became a social worker and ultimately head of the Erie County Welfare Department,
Society.
or whatever you called.
That
they
was
called
a
it.
big deal.
Oh yes,
Especially for a woman to
For
be
a
in
woman,
charge.
yes.
Especially in those days.
Yes. And they didn't give out vouchers for food. What they did, which was really strange, they bought food for the family, not perishables, but 5 pounds of flour and all
Like
this
staples.
Staples, which was kind of weird.
And then gave them out
and
to the
gave them
families?
out to the families. Yeah.
Well, maybe they figured that it would last and the
Maybe.
food wouldn't go bad,
Yeah.
spoil.
No. Yes, there's Aunt Ida looking very comfortable on a cruise ship on the St. Lawrence. Ida and Nello went with my mother and father. They had a good time.
Where did they go from? Do you remember from where to where?
They probably drove. This is Rosina Bevilacqua, my grandmother. And that's a very nice picture of her because she was ill all the time. I don't ever remember her getting up and walking around. Maybe from the bedroom to the kitchen table, maybe from the bedroom to the dining room table.
Was she in her own home when she was ill?
Oh, yes, yeah. And who lived with her? I think Ida lived with her till she got married. Then my Aunt Matilda and Uncle Bevy moved down because it was a flat. They moved in. And my mother was down there every day. My mother, who didn't drive, so one of my father's workers would come up and pick her up and take her down to Grandma's house.
Okay.
And then at night, either my father would come because everybody would eat at my grandmother's.
Oh.
My mother would cook.
She would
for
cook.
everybody.
Amelia would
Right.
cook.
And I remember going to the grocery store, DeCorpo's grocery store, and I was given $1, and I would buy $1's worth of meat. And it fed everybody there.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
no, I cannot. This was in the 30s.
Wow.
Yeah. But
So, and then so Grandpa Octavio died a while back,
Oh
so
yes.
you don't quite
I
remember
don't
him.
remember him. He died when I was about 3.
But then when did Rosina die? Do you remember?
Yes, I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
I
So you
remember
really
that.
had a childhood memories of her.
Oh yes, very much so. And those eyes. I remember those.
She really reminds me of Amelia in this picture.
Yes, she does. And she was very brave. Remember, she came with 2 children from Italy, not knowing a word of English. The
So
two
the
children,
two children were
my mother
Amelia
and Beatrice.
Beatrice,
Yeah,
who were both born in
Italy.
and she came over
with the
those-
2
two
children.
of them. Was Ottavio with her when they came over?
No,
No.
he was here.
A lot of times they did that. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Can you
when I
imagine?
think, no, I can't.
Not knowing the language,
10 years old,
not knowing what the United States
was like.
held for you.
not knowing what the United States was.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I give all the immigrants
kudos.
kudos. We wouldn't be here.
I know.
Oh yes, that's my Aunt Ida's wedding invitation at St. Paul's Church. I remember going there.
Is that the church that you would all go to?
Yes, St. Paul's Church.
At 16th and Walnut?
Walnut, right? It's still there, a block from Grandma's house. Yeah.
Well,
We'd
that was
walk
easy
there.
for her to
Oh,
get
yeah.
there on Sundays.
Yeah, when she
Could.
could, yeah. And my father was an usher there until shortly before he died. My mother would like to go to Sacred Heart because she could walk there whenever she wanted. It was closer. And to this day at St. Paul's, Sonny and Dickie are still very active there.
Oh, Cindy and Dickie Vendetti.
Vendetti. Chet and Richard.
Chester and Richard.
Chester.
If you really want to be precise.
Okay, all right.
Because Chet was, his
Chet-
dad was known by
was
the name Chet.
Yeah.
And Chester is Sonny, and Chetty
Is
is the son.
Right. And they're attorneys, the 2 of them. Oh, I don't know what my aunt's looking at.
And that is
Ida
Ida
and
and
Nello.
Nello at their
Yes.
wedding. Look at that cake. This
Yeah.
must have been a big wedding. You
Or else we had a lot left over. I don't know.
But you weren't. You
Oh,
weren't.
yeah,
you
I
weren't
was
part
there.
of. But you weren't a flower girl.
no, I
You were
wasn't a-
older at
yeah.
this point.
I don't remember when they got married.
Okay.
It was during the war, because then he received a different status. He wasn't what they call A1
A1 is
means-
ineligible.
eligible. He
Oh.
was like A2 or 3 because he was married.
Oh, okay. So they probably took
So
them later.
Later, exactly.
Gotcha.
So he never had to go into the service. Oh, that's my grandma Bevilacqua. Bevilacqua when she was still able to walk.
Rosina.
With Donald, who was killed in World War II. His plane crashed into the Adriatic because of bad weather.
And he was the son of
Of Aunt Matilda and Uncle Bevy, the only child.
your only child.
Yeah,
That must have been devastating.
it was. It really was. And the irony of the whole thing is that Donald was kind of heavy, and he went to Notre Dame. He was on the Notre Dame. What's the back ones? The tackles. What are they called?
Oh, defensive backs.
Well, anyway, he
on
was
the football team?
He was on the freshman football team. He was a tackle. He was big, and that must have been 41 or 42. And everybody was enlisting, all the 18 years, and he enlisted. But he wanted to go into the Air Force, so he had to trim down, and he did. He took off all that extra weight, and he was really quite handsome.
and enlisted in the Air
Air
Force,
Force,
which
yes.
is quite something.
Yeah.
Picture.
Pardon?
And this must have been at somebody's wedding shower. I bet this was a shower. And these were our relatives from Cleveland, the Ceases. And going from left, Bernice Cisa, Ida, my Aunt Ida. These two were the very best friends. This, I can't remember her first name. Anyway, she was a cousin. My mother, and that was a Cisa. And then down in front, this was a Cisa. This is me with my pigtails. And that's Violet Cisa and Jeannie Cisa. Jeannie and I were about 2 or 3 years apart in age.
You look like Nori there
Do
to
I?
me.
Oh.
A little bit.
Okay. And I think this was a shower. I'm sure of it.
Do you think that was in the Cease's property? It looks like a very expansive lawn.
Could
area.
be. There's my cousin Donald, who slimmed down.
Look at how
him.
slim he is
Yes, that was enlisting
On
in-
the left.
On the
Donald's
left.
on the
Donald.
left.
Yeah.
And who's on the right? A friend of his? Do you
I
think?
don't know. I think another Air Force.
You know,
person.
it's so sad.
Yes, look at
they
the
look
wings.
so just full
Vibrant
of life
life
and
and yes.
expectation
Yes.
and about to slay the world.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah, I was slayed by the world. Ah, Sonny and Dickie at my grandma Bevilacqua's with their hair. Julia really wanted girls. She should have had girls. She
curled-
doted on me. Doted. I was the only
You were the only-
granddaughter
yes.
with all the grandsons.
And there they are with their
the
curls.
Finally, they did get them chopped off. Yeah. There they
There's
are.
another
Yeah,
picture.
Yeah, that looks just like him.
It does. That
It
is such a
It's
sunny look.
right?
And how far apart in age were they about?
A year
Just a year.
to the same month.
Wow.
Oh yes, this is Donald on the end.
The far right in front.
In front. Yeah, that's the whole group that went down.
Oh. That must be their plane.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this picture existed. Have I seen it before?
I found it in it.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that
So
a
it
beauty?
went down over the Adriatic.
Yes. Returning flight.
No, on the way to, they left Italy, and they're on the way to drop some bombs in Austria.
Didn't they? Wasn't it on the way home?
No, it was on the way there.
back. Oh, okay.
It was bad weather, and
Yeah, bad weather was the cause.
and
They weren't shut down.
They just lost contact with them.
Yeah.
Never heard from them.
Never
again.
heard from them. Isn't that?
Yeah, it
can't
is
imagine.
heartbreaking.
Look at them all.
This is And they were only together for 4 weeks or so.
Oh, I didn't know
Before it happened?
Yeah.
So he died very early in the war then?
No, it was late in the war.
Oh, it was late in the war?
That he made it into the Air Force.
No, but I mean, in his career in the Air Force, it was pretty early that he died.
In the Air Force. I guess,
Yes. And that's another picture. And where is he this
Right
time?
there.
Again, on the
Yeah.
front,
yeah. Right.
extreme right. It's another shot.
Oh, and this is this was my Aunt Julia's house. I used to know the address. Anyway, not too far from us. My mother and I used to walk there, and she used to walk to our house on Liberty Street. And there I am
You're in the front?
with a hat on. My gosh, I have a hat.
You look very stylish,
Yes.
Mom.
Behind me is Aunt Ida with her hat.
Mm-hmm.
And the two boys, Dickie is standing up, Sonny is sitting down.
And that is their
Aunt
mom.
Julia, their mother,
Aunt
Aunt Julia.
Julia.
The
And-
house is still there.
How old was she when she died, Mom?
46,
And
44.
and they were in their teens, correct?
They were in their teens, yeah. So she was in her 30s there,
Donald was much younger.
10 years younger.
And he wasn't born
No,
yet.
he wasn't born yet. That's at the cottage, and the what is this thing?
The outdoor
The
the
fireplace
fireplace, yeah.
is still there, and that's my father's dog. Oh, GP.
GP,
Yes.
that annoying dog.
Hated that dog. Yeah. Look at the two kids.
Dickie's on the left.
I think that's
No,
isn't that
Sonny
Sonny?
is
on
And
the
that's
Dickie.
Richard on the
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is in my Aunt Ida and Uncle Nils' backyard.
That's a beautiful home.
It was
they
it's a
lived in.
lovely home.
I remember that house, Mom.
Yes.
I remember going there
and sleeping with
and
him.
being the favored grandniece,
Right.
or it was my turn to be the favored grandniece.
No, you were because you were old enough.
Oh, okay.
The others
And
were too
and
young.
I was
Yeah.
careful.
Yes.
Because she had breakable
things,
things and
yes.
fancy things.
Yes,
Because of no kids.
exactly.
And so who's on the extreme left
Dick.
sitting?
Dickie, that's Sonny.
Sonny is the other young boy, and that's
Ida.
Ida. And Julia.
and Uncle Nello.
Uncle. No, that's your dad, isn't it?
No, that's Uncle Nello.
It is Uncle Noel. God, for a minute he looked
Yeah.
like Angelo there.
Yeah. Oh yes, oh the boys again. Dickie on the left, Sonny on the right.
And where do you think they are?
Oh, that's at Ida's house.
Ida's house. And look at, what are they dressed up like?
Cowboys.
They're ready to
with,
go.
with their boots on.
So I guess Julia had given up on the
Yes,
girls' idea by
right.
this point.
Oh, the bow and
Is that
arrow.
Sonny?
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, that's our backyard in Liberty Street.
Oh,
Yeah, I know the steps.
and practicing his
Yeah.
archery.
I wonder what he was aiming at. Okay, my Aunt Ida and Uncle Nello at their house. Nice looking couple. Oh, this was the basement of Aunt Julia's house. She had a full kitchen down there. And this was
In the basement?
In the basement. Yes. And
Why do you
lots-
think they had it in the
Well,
basement?
it was cooler, much cooler. Yeah.
And who are the
In the
two?
summertime.
Oh, that's Aunt Matilda.
Oh,
and
Auntie Mutt,
Auntie Mutt,
Uncle Bevy's wife,
and
And
Julia.
Julia.
They only used it in the summertime, right? They had a full basement.
Well, I
upstairs.
don't know. I think we used it all year. We were down there all year. It was fun.
Yeah. But no, but there's a full kitchen upstairs too. right?
Yes.
I can understand in the heat of summer, the eastern
Coast.
summers,
Yeah.
humidity, etc., and not having air conditioning. I
Yeah.
can understand
Oh,
cooking
yes.
in the basement. The basement
And
was the coolest place
There
in the
was
house.
there was room for everybody, whereas in the kitchen upstairs,
Right.
even during the it was too small for everybody. So they were cooking something good. Oh, my Aunt Julia holding Donald.
Donald.
Look
baby
at
Donald.
him, cute.
And who's on the left?
Dickie
And
Sonny.
on the right. And that's in
And
their
look at
home.
the radiator. Had radiators in.
I like radiators. It's not drying.
Okay, and I don't know whose house this was. Anyway, on the left is Eleanor, my sister-in-law. I'm there frowning. Next to me is my mother, then Uncle Nello, Aunt Ida, and in front, trying to pierce the photographer, was Sonny.
Sonny with his bow and
bow
arrow
yes,
everywhere.
Yes.
So perhaps Uncle Bob, your brother, was taking the
Taking a
picture.
picture, yes.
Look at how beautiful Eleanor is.
Yes. There she is again. Now this was at my Aunt Ida's house, and these are her friends, her good friends. And she's Angie
On the left
on
side.
the left, and I've forgotten her name. My Eleanor there, another Angie there,
On the right side.
and my Aunt Ida's on the floor. And this must have been somebody's wedding, and I don't know who. Anyway, my Aunt Julia, my mother
On the left side.
on the left, my mother with that hat.
It's called a fascinator. I think that's what they call those little weird hats. They call them fascinators.
And my mother's cousin from Cleveland,
Okay.
Pepina, Asisa. My Aunt Beatrice looked like a stovepipe almost, and Aunt Ida.
So this was.
It's somebody's wedding.
So there's one sister missing from this picture, Beatrice.
No, there she is.
Oh, that's. I thought you said that was Aunt Julia.
No, there's Julia,
Oh,
Mom,
Amelia,
Pepina,
Beatrice,
and
Ida.
All
Okay.
the sisters are
Okay.
there.
I was wrong.
And this was the Vendetti boys and Aunt Ida.
So Dickie's on the left.
Dickie's on the left, Sonny with the glasses, and Donald in front. And I don't know whose
Yeah,
backyard.
Ida's classy bag.
Yeah, I like that purse. And that's Richard. I think that's when he looked like that when he went to Tucson with my mother and father. He had asthma quite badly.
Oh.
And so they took him out of school, and for the month of February and March, he was in the dry heat. I don't think he has asthma today. Anyway, he and my father, they would go through New Orleans, and they would eat stacks and tons of oysters, raw oysters. That was the highlight of the trip.
So this is Sonny and Dickie's wrestling team.
There,
They were the-
there he is.
So
That's Richard.
Dickie
Oh, and there's
was third-
Sonny.
Yeah,
Okay,
We
I got
couldn't
him.
figure out
third,
which one.
Okay,
third
fifth-
from the left,
Is Richard,
and
and
fourth
that's-
from the right in the back, both in the back.
yeah.
Fourth from the right is
And
Sunny.
that's
And they were
Sonny.
city champions that year.
Oh, were they? Oh,
Oh.
good. I didn't know that. Wonder where I had got this. Well, I got it.
No,
Oh.
this is from, I got this from Dickie.
Oh, okay. And that's my Aunt Ida. Looks like she's making coffee. She was a coffee fiend, like my mother. My mother
I
had
love Amelia's coffee.
that little pan with, she'd throw the grounds in, throw the water in, boil it.
And then put evaporated milk,
milk
in
in
it.
it.
It's the best
That's
thing I've
it.
ever eaten.
No. Yes, there's Aunt Ida, looking very comfortable on a cruise ship on the St. Lawrence. Ida and Nello went with my mother and father. They had a good time.
Where did they go from? Do you remember from where to where?
They probably drove across the Peace Bridge, Buffalo to Canada, and then caught it there. Oh, and this is my Aunt Julia and Uncle Chet in front of their house on Cherry Street with Sonny on the left, Dickie in the middle, and Donald in front.
That's a nice picture. Was that, do you think she's sick
Yeah,
there?
I think so. Yes, because the boys look like they're, they were in high school when she died.
Yeah.
So she was getting sick. Look at those hats on Uncle Nello and Uncle Joe. And Auntie Bibi had a good hat on too. And I don't know where that
and
was.
that's on Ida in the middle without the hat. right?
Without the hat, yeah. She had fancy shoes too. Look at those.
Well, Aunt Ida was very
Yes,
stylish.
very stylish.